Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. I'll go ahead and hop in here and take the stage to greet everyone that's already here. Welcome. Welcome to Mindful GPT.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you guys want to pop into the chat, just let us know where you're dialing in from. It's always fun to see what a global group we might have here. So if you can't find the chat, it is, well, actually, it probably looks different for you. So yeah, I see you guys are already popping it in there, but all the way on the bottom right. So there's a little chat icon all the way in the bottom right corner. So you can type in where you're coming in from. So we've got David from LA, Scott from San Jose, Daniela from the Netherlands, Janet in Vancouver. Oh, there's Mark. Hey, Mark. Maneesh in London, Bryan in Woodstock, Georgia, Daniele in Turkey, Ford in Alabama, Auburn, and I'm in Czech right now, my home country, visiting friends and family. Magesh from Bangalore, India. Ooh, cool. Salman from Dubai. Brian from Rancho Capuchino, Kansas. Mary Martin from South Florida. Good to see you guys. Hazel from Portugal. Cool. Catherine from Portland, Oregon. So yeah, we've got about 15 minutes set aside now, 13 minutes, to basically just chat. If anyone just wants to, talk about AI and what that experience means for you, if you've ever tried AI, how do you feel about it? Maybe actually it would be great to start with what is AI, what is ChatGPT, because I know there are some of you here on this call who are curious about it, but you haven't actually played around with it, or you still are not sure what to expect. So when we talk about AI, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And even though it's something that most of us probably use on a daily basis, and I'm not just talking about ChatGPT now, but there are a lot of softwares and apps that we might use that we don't even realize are using the same algorithms as AI. Actually, Mark, you'd probably be a great one to speak on that a little more, right? What are some common everyday things that we use that have the same functions that ChatGPT or other tools have?
Yeah, well, same functionality is a little complex to share, but just as an example, there's AI in the Facebook algorithms and the social media algorithms that determine what comes up in your feed. And that has sort of evolved now into these large language models that can basically predict text. And it's become very good at now answering human language queries. And so that's sort of what I think we're all exploring and still learning. And yeah, it's a very interesting space. I'm very excited to hear from folks and their experiences and opinions and ideas. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Maneesh actually asked, is it worth doing a quick demo of ChatGPT in case they haven't used it? That might be a good idea as well. I can share my screen and just show a quick demo because, like I said, I know there's probably some of you here who haven't used it before and maybe aren't sure of where to find it. So ChatGPT is a tool where you can enter a prompt or a question and it will generate output. And in order to find it, I'm going to drop the link here in the chat. Okay, Mark, I'm wondering if I can't type into the chat because I'm on stage. Can you?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you drop a link, please, to ChatGPT?
Link to ChatGPT. Okay, one sec.
In the meantime, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys an example.
By the way, Bard has also been released recently. And so it's basically very similar. I've been hearing from folks that it can actually be better. It's certainly cheaper than the paid version of ChatGPT Plus. And Bard basically can create images. I haven't fully played around with it yet, but basically there's, this competition between Google and OpenAI and others. And now Bard is something I've been starting to play around with.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Mark. I know I saw that. I got an email from Google, I think, a couple of days ago announcing some of the latest updates to that. So in the world of AI, there's a lot of different tools and softwares, and I'm sure in the next few weeks, months, years, there's going to be more and more coming out. But right now, these two are probably the most talked about. So that's why we wanted to bring it up here, because even if you're not in the world of tech or marketing, or maybe you don't consider yourself, someone like tech savvy, you've probably heard people talking about it. And so I think it's really helpful to be able to at least understand what people are talking about. So to start with the demonstration here, I'm sharing my screen on ChatGPT. I just asked, what is ChatGPT? What can it be used for? So let it answer for me. And it generated this response. So an AI language model belongs to the GPT family of models. So there's more than just ChatGPT, but we don't need to really get into the tech details of it. We're here to talk about how we can actually use it mindfully and use it to do all sorts of different things, which you'll see over the next hour as people share all the different capabilities it has, because I'm sure there's so many things that it does that I probably haven't thought of, or that any of us individually haven't thought of if we have played around with it. And seeing how other people use it is going to actually make us realize, oh wow, like I didn't know there was a thing that could do this. Like when Google came out, we probably thought it was impossible to try to find what you need, but Google made it happen, and this is almost like a different evolution of it. So I'm going to put in actually a question just to demonstrate.
I have another idea. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention one. You could type in, create me a lesson plan to bring a mindfulness program into companies. Another thing actually that I've noticed is that it's good to create a new chat, because if you add context to the same chat, it kind of builds off of each other, and it uses tokens to work on a specific query. So when you're asking a new question, I recommend creating a new chat, the button on the top left, whenever you want the ChatGPT to work on a new contextual piece of information. It's helpful to create a new chat.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mark. So that's a great way to kind of keep your stuff organized if you're searching, and if you're doing a search on a specific topic. Let's say you're working on, like I'll show you in my sharing on creating content. Then you can have a chat box just for that. And then maybe, an hour later, you want to ask it about creating a meal plan for you or something. So then you would save that as a new category, because then you can ask it to expand on that. And so, yeah, like this example with the lesson plan. So maybe then I would save that as a separate chat. I would say think of it almost like a folder. And then if I wanted more information about this, so see, it's still generating information. So then I can click here at the top right. It allows you to tell it to keep going. For example, if you want to expand on something, if you want to explain something, rewrite, shorten, tweetify. So you could take a big chunk of text and you could ask it to either shorten it or to expand on it, or you could take one piece, for example, mindfulness in challenging situations. And then you could copy and paste that, or you could say, expand on topic 5. And it's almost like talking to a person, like if you had a virtual assistant and they gave you this and they said, okay, here's some outlines that you can start with. And you're like, ooh, this is good. Can you tell me more about this? Can you do some research here? And so think of it as if you were asking someone to help you with something, and see if it can help you with that.
I highlighted a comment from Katerina. There's some background noise, but I highlighted a comment. I think it's important to note that the ChatGPT isn't a replacement, in my opinion, for teaching, of course, but it can very much help get the ball rolling and get you to step 0.01, for example. So I find it very useful in that context. And so I just wanted to highlight that comment.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And yeah, thank you, Katerina, for mentioning that. And those of you who saw Mark and I had a little chat yesterday live on LinkedIn about these topics, about using AI mindfully and about using it in the field of mindfulness itself. And so this is where our discretion and our inner wisdom and our intuition really comes in, to make sure that whatever outputs ChatGPT creates, that we have to be aware that, first of all, it could be biased, it could be inaccurate, because it does have a lot of limitations. And I think, again, this is beyond the scope of what we're talking about here, because we could go on for an hour, just talking about the limitations and about how to be aware of making sure that we're using it for good. But just because the community here, I think a lot of us that are here are in this space of trying to help others, whether we would call ourselves mindful, conscious, aware, or purpose-driven. We want to do something that not only helps ourselves, but that is good. And since you're here, we hope that those of you who are going to be coming on stage to share ideas are going to be sharing ideas that allow people to not only simplify their lives, but use it for good, and to not forget to use it mindfully, to use that as an opportunity to pause, and not just to take whatever this thing generates, but to maybe just use it for ideas. Because as some of us who are here that have businesses or that impact others, we might need ideas on what type of content to share, or on things to create. And sometimes it can be hard to come up with those on our own, but just a tiny glimpse of inspiration, just having someone give us an outline or something, can start the juices flowing, even from a creative standpoint. And that can then help you actually tap into your own wisdom, tap into your own skills and your experience, your background. So yeah, in no way is ChatGPT or AI meant to ever replace our humanity. I think it can actually help us connect with it on a deeper level if we allow it to. So we've got a couple minutes, and then we will start calling people up on stage, those of you who signed up to speak. And if there's extra time, then we'd love for anyone else who's here who hasn't signed up as a speaker to share. So each speaker will have 2 minutes to share their best idea for using ChatGPT, or just your overall opinion or outlook on ChatGPT.
Thanks for that, Simona.
Yeah. Some interesting stuff in the chat.
The button to join stage, by the way, will come up when we invite you. So that'll pop up, and then you'll see a button to share the screen, share your screen if you choose to do that. You don't have to share a screen. And I know that we set 2 minutes for everybody. We're going to stay with that. We may be going over a little bit because I forgot to take into consideration there's going to be a few seconds between each person. So there's going to be a little bit of leeway there, but we'll start promptly here. We have a minute left, and so our first person that we're going to invite up is Aliki Ko, and please forgive me or us if we pronounce any names wrong. And just as a reminder, we'll also ask you to share a brief introduction about yourself, and then go into your share, and that's how we'll do it. Anything I missed, Simona? Okay, it's
No,
9, so I'm going to invite.
Yeah, go ahead.
One sec. Invite to stage. Okay.
Can you hear me? Wonderful. So thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you for hosting that. I'm glad to be here. It's funny that I'm opening that speech, apparently, because I think I'll talk to you about a little bit of an unconventional way of using ChatGPT. So I was realizing that we are in a moment in time that we have an incredible opportunity to actually choose how to use a new tool. Like that, it was never so clear in our human awareness, like we can choose how to use this new technology. And then I dropped into myself, and I'm using that as a part of my conscious business. I'm always supporting entrepreneurs that want to do business differently and implement parts of nature inside in the way that we do business that shape the future. So I was dropping in and I was like, okay, a new amazing tool, it will be powerful. We know that. Great. How do we use it so it's enriching? It actually places technology where it always was supposed to be, to help us, right? Not to take our position. It was supposed to be like our right hand. I was like, okay, how can ChatGPT become my right hand? And then I started realizing the possible traps of that, replacing my role or replacing the parts that I love about business, right? It's like, it's just so easy for you to end up doing the boring stuff and have technology do the fun stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's where we're supposed to go. I'm sorry. I want to do the fun stuff and I want technology to do the boring stuff for me, right? So then I realized that there was a system that was coming up. I personally use spiritual guidance for the way of doing business. So I mean, spiritual divinations, different tools, energy healing. So all the practices we use for human healing, practically. So then I decided to do this quite unconventional co-founding team. But we are three. It's three of us. It's myself, of course, like the CEO. Let's call it like that. It's Spirit, practically. So Spirit is literally one of my three co-founders, and AI is my third co-founder. So we're three co-founders. Only one of them is a person, is a human. The other is something that is invisible, but in the spiritual realm. The third is one that's invisible, but in the technological realm. So practically, that's how we operate, and that's what I want to open for you.
Thank you, Aliki, for that. We're going to just, as we get better at bringing people on stage, we're just going to cycle through. I shared your LinkedIn for everybody to connect with you. Aliki, thanks for that share. And we'll promptly keep going here.
Yeah, thank you, Aliki. Next, we'll have Aysha Alawadhi. She is an HR leader, culture advisor, and DEIB expert. Hi, Aysha.
Your mic isn't on, by the way.
Are you able to unmute it, Mark?
Is it working now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is why AI is never going to replace us because of all these glitches. But thank you so much for having me. My name is Aysha, and I am, as she said, a organizational consultant. I am also a certified coach, and I coach both in the executive coaching world as well as now I've pivoted to take on a larger and I think more important role in terms of kind of helping people find their path in life and how to kind of bring everything together, because I don't think there's a work life and a life, there's just life. So in terms of how I use ChatGPT, I was a little hesitant in the beginning because I very much care about the whole person and your spiritual side. And I felt like this would just be another tool like this one and the phone that I have to just eat up my time. And so I think very importantly, I walked into this with very strong intentions about creating boundaries, just like I would with any relationship. And so I had very clear boundaries that I had outlined for myself in terms of how I would use this technology and what I would use it for. And so today I find it has saved so much of my productivity for things that I care about. So I use it as a personal assistant. It arranges my day for me. I use various platforms other than ChatGPT. I use it to kind of brainstorm ideas sometimes when I'm running a meeting. And I have found it to be extremely helpful in taking away the time-consuming but necessary things that I would have to do to kind of dot the I's and cross the T's. And I now get to focus on the stuff that I love doing. And so that's kind of how I've incorporated it. It is very easy to fall into the trap of kind of pushing those boundaries a little bit. And that's kind of where you have to be very intentional about being honest with yourself and holding yourself accountable on how you're going to allow this technology to enter your life. And yeah, I find it super helpful. I'm happy to go into it in more detail.
Thank you for sharing that, Aysha. I shared your LinkedIn, and we'll keep going here. Thank you for sharing again.
Yeah, thank you, Aysha. Next up, we have Barbara McEvilley, if she's here. Oh, yep. Hey, Barbara.
Good morning. Am I on stage? I thought there was a button I was supposed to push.
You are. Yes? We put you on stage automatically. The magic of technology.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm research director at Adipar, a fintech company for ultra high net worth investors. And so basically I do interviews with clients, surveys with clients. And the way I'm using ChatGPT as my research assistant, so I have to do a lot of scholarly research, looking at all of the literature. And so one of my favorite research projects that I convinced the team to do was about how mindfulness can help de-bias our decision makers. So these are chief investment officers making very important decisions, say for enormous pensions. And there's a lot of biases that we all have. And this is also true of investment professionals. So if we can help de-bias decision making, they're going to make better decisions for their constituents and stakeholders. So for example, a bias that's common is status quo bias. So a lot of investors, you've probably been listening to the news, if you keep your money in deposits right now, rather than T-bills, these enormous pensions, instead of earning 0% in deposits, they could be earning upwards of 4% for these pensioners. So very important when we're talking about big numbers. And so I use it as my personal assistant when I'm just trying to make sure I have my definitions correct, or did I miss anything when I'm writing these scholarly things? And then on the personal side, I really just have a lot of fun with ChatGPT. So I was an English major as an undergrad, and I like to think of it as hosting my own private Algonquin circle. So I'll have a question. Maybe I'm reading the latest Thich Nhat Hanh book, and I'll have a question in my mind, and then I want to pose a question to my private Algonquin circle. I'll say, hey, Thich Nhat Hanh, what do you think of Shakespeare's quote, this to be or not to be quote? And then I'll get the response from Thich Nhat Hanh. What does William James have to say? And it goes on, and really there's no end to curiosity and fun.
Thank you for sharing that, Barbara. And for everybody that's sharing, just know that we don't have time to comment on everybody's share. And just, we appreciate everybody's share, and I'm sure that everybody can connect with everybody. I'll be posting everybody's LinkedIns so that you can connect offline as well. So thanks for everybody that has shared, and we'll continue here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that, Barbara. And next up, we've got Brett Hill, the founder of Mindful Coach Association. Hey, Brett.
Hey, how's it going? Great to see you guys. Thanks for putting this together. So important. I use ChatGPT in some not very exciting, but very, very useful ways, because I create a lot of content for the Mindful Coach Association and the podcast, the Mindful Coach, and that kind of thing. So, and I'm kind of a sloppy typist, and I tend to be long-winded. And so what I can do is I can take my draft of whatever it is I'm writing, and I can throw it into ChatGPT, and I can say, hey, make this better. And, from the point of view of a coach who's, interested in this, can you streamline the text, make it tighter. And you can also give it attitudes. You can say, have a snarky attitude or have an engaging attitude, and it'll add emoticons and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting and useful in that way. And I have just enough time, if I can share my screen real quick, I can show you. Whoops, I just turned my video off. Sorry about that. Let's see here. If I have enough time, I can show you an interesting one. Yeah. This is, I was working on my podcast, The Mindful Coach, and I just said, create a paragraph describing why someone would be interested in watching this, and gave a little bit of background and gave it the exact language I was using. And then it came up with one, which is a little bit over the top. It's kind of like, you'll be transported into a realm of remarkable anecdotes, empowering coaches. It's kind of a little, too much. And so I said, hey, can you do that? But make it a little more conversational. And it came out with a paragraph that has some good bits in it. And so I wound up actually using a significant portion of that particular bit. And so I use it a lot for that, to kind of help me organize those kinds of, that kind of text. Hey.
Cool. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett.
You're welcome.
Next up, we've got Bryan Welch. He is the CEO, author, advisor, coach, investor, and board member for purpose-driven companies. Hey,
Hi.
Bryan.
Hi, great to see you all. It's a very great honor to be here. When I use AI or ChatGPT in particular, I've only really used it as sort of a souped up version of Wikipedia or something. It's very useful to get succinct and articulate descriptions of things, knowledge that I don't possess. What I find most interesting about it, though, is the way in which it cultivates a relationship. If I go on asking questions, the way it evolves with my interests, the way it seems to become almost sentient in the interactions, which for me is quite interesting because of the ways that it differs from a relationship with a human being. I think, as we've evolved with technology, we get clearer and clearer pictures of the ways in which technology can't necessarily answer our questions or falls short of human performance. And those are the openings. Those are it's a good way of illustrating what's special, wonderful, valuable about us as human beings and about our human relationships. And as far as I can tell, ChatGPT isn't afraid of dying, feels no body shame, differs from human beings in a bunch of ways. It assumes that in my interactions that everything has an answer, and that ultimately we in our search for well-being will be victorious. And I don't think that's true. And I think the fact that we won't be victorious, that thing we share, is the ground on which we connect as human beings. So for mindfulness instructors, that seems like a really important data point.
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan. Yeah, that's very deep and thought-provoking and important to mention all of that. So next up, we've got Cynthia Phelps. Hi, Cynthia.
Mike, turn on your mic, please.
There we go. Hi. In 2 minutes, I guess I'm going to tell you who I am, what I'm working on, a story, and then hopefully some resources. So I work at the intersection between technology and mental health and wellness, particularly self-compassion and mindfulness. And so I was very fascinated to see this kind of new wave of technology coming at us. And my company is called Inner Ally. And the whole idea behind it is that I really help people craft a inner voice that is kind and supportive. There's tons of research behind it. The method is fun. It's attached to these fun characters. And
I use it in my coaching for people. And so one of the things, here's the story. One of the things that I do is that I help people develop this inner language for themselves. And I create stock phrases for people because sometimes it's hard to do it yourself. And one of the things that I did with an intern is spend about an hour creating some of these phrases. And we could do about 40 phrases an hour. When I sat down with ChatGPT 3 for the very first time, I trained it with just a few prompts to understand my system. And in 30 seconds, it gave me 100 phrases. And so this is revolutionizing what I do. And if you're interested in mental health and wellness and tech, like, I would love to talk to you. And I want to give you 2 resources. One is a YouTube channel called AI Explained. If you're interested in the research papers, this guy does a breakdown of research papers. And if you are interested in prompt crafting, there's a woman named Evo Henning, and she just wrote a book on prompt crafting, and she is fantastic. I did it.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Awesome. Good job, Cynthia. If you want to drop those names in the chat so then people can easily find it might be helpful.
I will totally do that. I'll drop the links even.
Thank you. Next up, we've got David Gull, co-founder of Ojimi, if I pronounced that right.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, and it's it's Ojimi, and essentially we have built an AI meditation coach using ChatGPT, and so basically what's going on here is behind the scenes we're prompting GPT, but in a very crafted way. What this allows people to do is they can input literally an infinite number of potential things they want help with, or something like getting pumped to chat with the Mindful GPT folks and generate a meditation with preset techniques, their favorite voice, male, female, ambient music, and how long they have. And so in real time, what we do is we generate a custom meditation just for that person. So we're super excited about this. It's basically a wrapper around GPT doing the things that we're talking about. In particular, on this call, I'd like to mention that we are collaborating with coaches. So if anyone here wants to reach out, I'd love to hear from you. Ashley Cardini is our first real world coach collaborator who's using this. And we're really excited about empowering coaches to have a bigger impact with their students and folks that they're working with. So running out of time, I'd love everyone here to try it and send me feedback. We're super early, and so getting better as quickly as possible. And I would love to also, I'll drop a link into the chat to the app and offer the crew a discount on the pro plan if anyone wants to use that and try.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, David.
Very cool.
And next up,
I'm sure
we've got
that some folks will try that out.
Great.
Yes. Thanks, David.
Next up, we've got Ford Dyke, and he is a human performance consultant. Hey, Ford.
First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone tuning in from around the world. David, you're an absolute genius, and I will be definitely contacting you very soon. So I'm excited to have that coffee chat with you. Like you all said, my name is Ford Dyke. I'm a professor here at Auburn University. I'm also the founder and director of Mindfulness at Auburn, which is the evidence-based approach for optimal performance, health, and well-being. And I've been overseeing and spearheading this platform for the last decade. And to see the transition now into this artificial intelligence space is quite mind-blowing to me. My brand outside of a professorship is Be Human. And here I am at the intersection of a robot, essentially, and human that's comprised of a brain, a set of lungs, and a heart. And I think the moral of the story is, for anyone on this call, and this has been touched on, but I kind of just want to hit hammer on top of the nail. It's that I feel like we need to remain intentional utilizing this tool. And it's one thing to say that you're using it as a personal assistant, you're using it to build mindfulness initiatives, you're using it for white paper and evidence-based research. But if we lose our critical eye, if we lose our mind, if we lose our heart, and we lose the connection between those by way of our respiration, by way of our breath, then ChatGPT is just another one of those tools that becomes something that becomes maladaptive in the long run. This is my take. This is just my perspective. Shoot the messenger if you would like. This is coming from a research one institutionally trained individual. And I think that while there is benefits to this technology, I think at the end of the day, if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in a pretty dark and scary place. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ford.
Thank you, Ford. And next up, we've got Henry Murray, a coach and data analyst. Hey, Henry.
Hey, how you guys doing? Let me share my screen really quickly. There we go. I, like a total nerd, put together a slideshow for today, even though I only have 2 minutes. So, hey, everybody, my name's Henry Murray. I'm a life coach and data analyst. I was originally going to talk about like intention setting and UI design around ChatGPT, but I stumbled across some stuff while talking to friends and family about this presentation that kind of really just took me in a different track. I found very interesting. Basically, you know, AI language models hold up a mirror to our own minds. And so they are a non-human tool that generates human response based on everything we have created consciously and unconsciously over our history. And so in this way, it creates a wonderful way to sort of look at ourselves in the mirror. And I like this example of like an ape looking in the mirror. I found that as I had these discussions, you know, I found that ChatGPT elicits as much terrified fear as it does like euphoric optimism from people. But what was really interesting is people would sit in between those feelings, and it would create this sense of ambivalence. You'd have the, you know, the devil and the angel on the shoulder, and in the state of ambivalence, without these very fixed opinions, as people waver between, it creates this opportunity to view yourself and to better understand yourself through the power of mindfulness. So just kind of skip quickly to the next slide here, but obviously I'll move through this, you know, using ChatGPT mindfully, but how I end up using it is you know, helping clients explore themselves as, you know, we start talking about the future of technology. Then article frameworks, a lot of stuff that's been shared already. And if you haven't used it to meal plan and generate a grocery list for you automatically, I highly recommend. But that's all I had to share today.
Thank you, Henry. Next up, we've got Ian Matthews, the founder of ZenBook.
I don't know if he came back in, but
All right.
I don't see him in here. So we're going to move on to Janet. Is he here? We
Janet
can
Fouts,
add him at the end.
All right. So then next we got Just Lipman, the founder of the Mindfulness. Oh, there's Janet. Okay. Hi, Janet.
Hi, looks like my video is off, though. I love Hopia. Anyway, 2 minutes. So I really enjoy ChatGPT because I like to play with it. For example, I will ask it what Buddha would say, and then what would Pema Chodron say, and listen to different answers and kind of get a better idea of how it understands. And it bases a lot on authorship. But for me, it's about the tools that support it. And I just wanted to give a quick rundown of some of the things that we do. I use Jasper if I'm writing content because it has a lot, jasper.ai. It has a lot of different tools added into it. For example, it integrates Grammarly. So it will actually fine tune what I write as I go. it also incorporates a prompt perfection app. I think it's probably Prompt Perfect, and it actually helps you rebuild your prompt and write it so that you get a much better question when you put it in, and then you can actually rewrite from there as well. I also use Zero GPT, which will go out and look for content that's been created by ChatGPT, so you can actually analyze content and see if it's been generated by AI. So there's a lot of things that we can do with that. And that said, and I'm actually really excited about OGME because I create custom meditations for my clients, and then I want to bring things that I've done before and I want to fine tune it for what they need and what their issues are. And that's pretty darn cool. So I think bottom line, as everyone else has said, I think we can all agree that we need to be mindful in how we use this. Yes, it's going to get away with us, but it's too late. It's already gotten away. So what are we going to do? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable?
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
All right, looks like Ian came back. So here's Ian Matthews, the founder of ZenBook.
Very good. Thank you so much, Simona and Mark and everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what we're doing is we're combining AI technology with human expertise, i.e. our expertise. And we're creating something that I've named the Marva system. And the Marva system is a digital wellness platform that's going to offer people everywhere a world of choice. And it's designed to cultivate more conscious human beings with relaxed minds and healthier nervous systems. So if it's safe to do so, if I could ask everyone to, only if they're safe, to just close your eyes for a few moments, you can do that. And then take a big deep breath in through the nose and take a long, long sigh out of the mouth. Keep your eyes closed as your healing vagus nerve kicks in, and just imagine in your mind for a moment a world where stress melts away and living and working with a serene state of mind becomes the collective new normal. And that's what our Marva experience is designed to bring you or your teams. It's a fusion of AI and human wellness expertise, wisdom and insights to bring worldwide access to self-healing interventions that resonate with everyone, everywhere, whoever they are. So we're delivering coaching, training, and consultancy. And through the Marva system, it goes to your screen virtually. We can train on site and even as an aftercare service. We use 5 key healing modalities and our expert guidance so that we are there all the way with you step by step on your mindful well-being journey back to healing, a return to wholeness, and turning things around in your life for the better. People say our beta programs that are being tested at the moment and tools work instantly with tangible, measurable, and feelable results. So connect with us, find out more. We'd love to speak to you.
Thank you so much, Anne. Next up, we have Jess Lipman, founder of the Mindful Nest. Hey, Jess.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm so grateful to be here. What a cool space to talk about this topic. I'm Jess Lipman. I'm a mindful business coach for heart-centered entrepreneurs, mindfulness trainers, and healing arts practitioners who are interested in building a sturdy, resilient business ecosystem and scale their impact sustainably. So I bring together trauma-informed digital marketing strategies, mindfulness meditation as a unified mindfulness certified trainer and coach. And I also really am fascinated by attachment theory and repair, as well as parts work on this journey of entrepreneurship and business development. And so that actually really comes into my own perspective around how to leverage ChatGPT and AI and things to actually consider. I see this tool as a way to help entrepreneurs with content, with collaboration, having a collaborative partner, if you will, and also even with time management and other unseen ways to use it at this point. And honestly, I've been a bit skeptical myself. I will say, as a collaborator, I believe this platform can be really great to gather ideas for content marketing or program titles, social media topics, but I do not see it as a replacement for the human being. I think that we have a responsibility to know our craft and expertise and make sure that what ChatGPT is providing us is actually ethical and accurate. So that's one way I recommend using it, is be the steward and a collaborator with it, and don't use it to replace you and your brain. And the other thing is I am trauma informed. And so I see some issues with AI long-term in terms of attachment theory and injury, and how it can reinforce injury for people over time and become a portal for people to avoid other human beings further and further.
Thank you so much, Jess. Next up, we've got Maneesh Juneja, a digital health futurist. Hi, Maneesh. We can't hear you. I'm not sure if your mic is on mute. Looks like it's still on mute.
There should be a button to unmute somewhere. I can't unmute.
It should be at the bottom of your screen on the, like in the center.
Let's.
The mic is flashing.
Sure. Let's. Let's 1 second. Mic muted. It looks like it keeps going on and off.
Yeah,
let's just move on to the next one for now. Sorry, Maneesh. We'll bring you up at the end. Sorry about that.
Yeah, if you want to stick around, Maneesh, we'll try it again at the end. And next up, we actually have Mark.
All right. Put a timer on for myself.
The founder of Mindful Text.
Hi, everybody. Yes. So let's see. I'll just go straight into my share. One thing I mentioned that I would share is how we're using ChatGPT to grow our social presence. And so I'm going to go through a semi-technical share, but I think it's very powerful. So one thing I recommend for folks to check out is Zapier. And so what we're doing, how I was able to grow to 200,000 monthly views on Pinterest is through automating a lot of our social media. So let's see here. Basically what you can do is you can ask ChatGPT to create a bunch of quotes. And what I did was you can mass create content through Canva and bulk create content. And so I'm just gonna upload this. And basically you can connect your data to the content and mass create content and plop that into Zapier. And what we do is we ask these tools to communicate to each other to then create content. So this is our prompt for Zapier. Basically, we send a file to Google Drive, and it picks up and sends a prompt to OpenAI, and it will automatically publish that to social media channels. And so this is basically a great way to start to increase your presence. And so this is one way. Happy to connect more. Didn't explain too much about myself, but we'll stay in touch. I recommend looking into Zapier essentially.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Next up, we've got Marilyn McBride, and she is a mindfulness teacher.
Hi.
Hey, Marilyn.
Nice to see you. Thank you. I teach mindfulness in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm trained as an MBSR teacher, but I also teach classes in workplace settings now. And I guess all I would like to say, I just really loved when Jess said a collaborator with it, because I feel that that's exactly what I'm playing with right now, is collaborating with ChatGPT. And I had an opportunity not too long ago to write a blog post for a professional association. And they had a newsletter going out, and someone had they'd lost the person who was going to write that month, and I got 48 hours notice to write a blog post that was going to be sent out in my community to 1,500 people who were all great potential clients for me. And I happened to be in Texas at the time, taking care of grandkids, and so I would have normally had to decline that opportunity. But I was able to use ChatGPT in a collaborative way. I knew about the organization. I had experience with the organization. That was the upfront part. And then the part that was just sort of fact-based and brief, because there was also a word limitation, I was able to use them for that and actually fulfill, taking advantage of an opportunity. So I know that Brett said early on too about the opportunity to be brief. And I think that's helped me both in writing and in speaking. So I'll be brief and finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Next up, we've got Mary Martin. She's a mindfulness educator and author.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you are. Hey, Mary.
How are you?
Good.
Okay, so I am a certified MBSR teacher, a certified mindful schools teacher, and certified trauma sensitive, and I do a lot of writing. And I created a course for financial advisors and a book for financial advisors. It's an 8-week course. I write for the Journal of Financial Planning. And what do I do with ChatGPT is like pretty much nothing, because I discovered early on that it was very superficial for me, and that if I was going to do something that was different, it wasn't going to be helpful. So I understand how it can be helpful for some things, but the level that I tend to go to, it wasn't going there. Pi, you can go to Hey Pi, HEYPI, if you want to like chat with somebody. It's a great kind of AI pal and / therapeutic and super empathetic. I use rev.com for transcribing. I use Clean Voice AI to clean up my audio. I use Tome, TONE.ai for my presentations. And the cool thing about Tome is it's like in one place. You can narrate onto your slides. It's attached to ChatGPT. So if you want to use some prompts to get yourself going and then, kind of customize from there, if you're having like a blank screen moment and you have no thoughts in your head, you can give it a prompt and start with your slides. It's connected to DALL-E and Midjourney. So you can use text to image there as well. So I like Tome AI so far is my favorite thing because it's all in one place. So you don't have to like go pulling from here, get your graphic from here, get your audio from here. It also has SoundDraw, sounddraw.io actually, which is audio that you can create. So ChatGPT, not so much for me, but I see how it could be helpful for repetitive tasks. But when it comes to like really tapping into who you are as a person and your essence to create a practice, like ethically, it doesn't make sense for me. So I don't use it for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. And feel free to drop the names of all those tools you just mentioned in the chat if you'd like to. And next up, we've got Mike Foster, the founder of the Human Capital Institute and chairman at the Institute for Organizational Science and Mindfulness.
I don't actually see him in here, so we're going to go to
Paulo Machado.
Hello,
And
everyone.
Paulo is a CEO and a healthcare entrepreneur. Hey,
Hello,
Paulo.
everyone. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Mic check?
Yes.
That's good. Excellent. Thanks for having me. I work in healthcare startups. I advise and invest in early stage companies. I'll be just talking about the healthcare utilization of what's happening with generative AI specifically. Lots of anxiety being created in the marketplace with what AI could do potentially. Lots of uncertainty. That being said, there's a whole series of organizations that are out there aggressively going into developing very specific and targeted solution sets, from things like drug discovery to consumer engagement at the next level. We all know that there are chatbots out there, but there are organizations now developing generative AI-based chatbots that would be kind of next generation above and beyond what we have today. So it's going to be really interesting. There's lots of capital being deployed very quickly for healthcare specific use cases. And it's going to be what I would consider kind of the Wild West. A big thing that is creating a lot of caution for everyone is it's a very regulated industry, and it's not something where you can move fast and break things like many other, well, no industry you should be doing that, frankly, in my opinion, but in healthcare in particular, you have to really keep an eye on that. So there's a lot of concern around these tools just being put out there without validation that they're not causing harm. Best example of that in recent time was when we launched social media tools into the marketplace, TikTok, Facebook, et cetera, that have caused a massive onslaught of mental health challenges across the world, frankly. So the healthcare industry is cautious from what's happened there, and there is a need basically to have some type of regulatory body that keeps an eye on use cases as they come out. As short-term productivity tools for personal use, great. When you're talking about using these tools that are just generically potentially made by somebody that could actually cause harm, that's a very different thing. I'm happy to answer a question, but I'll give back my time to the senator from wherever.
Thank you so much, Paulo. Next up, we've got Sarah Santacroce, the founder of Human Marketing and the Human Marketing Revolution.
Thanks, Simona. Thank you for having me. So yes, I'm all about humane and human marketing. And humane marketing is marketing for the generation that cares, which is why we're all here. We all care, right? And so humane marketing is all about words as well. And language matters. It matters a lot more these days than ever. And I feel like we have a responsibility with the language that we use. So it's a great tool that I use and my people use. And yet, this has been mentioned before, there's certain problems with it, like biases, and there's just inhumane language sometimes, not probably on purpose, but sometimes there is. And so what I do, I use it for blog posts, blog ideas, etc. But what I like to do is actually give it some of my content first. So I've written 2 books. And so sometimes I'll just take a page of a book, of my book, and then put it in ChatGPT and say, use this language. This is how I write. Sometimes I also tell it I'm a humane marketer, right? And so giving it your own content will help it to understand how you speak and how you want to speak. Because I've actually seen in other posts and things that it's considered to be a male. So there was conversations. And so often it has a male language and like a masculine energy. And what we need now more is more feminine energy, right? Not talking about genders, but just the energy. So yeah, pay attention to the language. And one other tool I just discovered yesterday is called Witty Works. Witty Works, and it helps us with our biases. So I'll put that link in the chat as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
And next up, we've got Scott Shute. And Scott is an author, a former LinkedIn executive, and a conscious business champion. Hey, Scott.
Hey, friends. Hi, good morning, everyone. I was the head of mindfulness and compassion at LinkedIn, and my mission in life is to change work from the inside out by operationalizing compassion and mainstreaming mindfulness. And thinking about ChatGPT or AI in general, you know, I started, like a lot of you, I use it to get started in writing a blog or get started with content. And, you know, I've been watching with great interest. I came across, if you haven't watched The AI Dilemma, it's a good 60 minutes of life to explain, you know, what is going on at the higher level with AI. And so to me, I'd like to talk with this group about our intentionality. Some of you have mentioned it. You know, a lot of us got into this work of mindfulness from a spiritual perspective, or you could say a consciousness perspective. And a lot of the work that we do is not just an information exchange, but it's an energy exchange. And as we think about the broader implications for what we can do collectively as humanity with AI, it can be used for the total destruction of the human race or for good. And it probably will be used in something all along that spectrum. So it's up to us to remember why we're here, that we are champions of consciousness. We are champions of compassion. So when we're thinking about writing 1,000 blog posts of just regurgitating without any of our own input, I know I'll need to think about that again, because just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should. So back to us, what can we do? Why did we get into this work in the first place? It's to serve, it's to expand consciousness, it's to expand compassion. And so how we use this tool will be a balance for how many other people use this tools. So thanks for listening. Have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing what you create.
Thank you so much, Scott. And next up is yours truly. I'm Simona. I'm the founder of Mindful Copy Agency, and I help mindful and conscious business owners get their message out into the world, get their business in front of more people through marketing and copywriting. And so what I want to share with you today is related to marketing. And I actually love what Scott just mentioned here, because it directly translates into what I want to share about when you're creating content, tapping into the state of being that you're in and remembering that intention, remembering why you started doing this work, because ChatGPT can make it easier for you to do this. But it's still about you tapping into the intention and the heart-centered wisdom that's within you. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick and give you a tip for, other button here. Give you a tip for how to create content. So this is more specifically for those of you who are business owners or who need to share content with others, to help you plan it out in advance. So I put in a prompt to help me create a plan to post on LinkedIn 3 times a week in the next 4 weeks. Or, you know, you could create a whole quarter's worth of ideas for content here. So put for the next 12 weeks. And then you can ask it to provide SEO, which is search engine optimization. So if you're going to create a blog, then this is going to help you drive traffic to your website because you're using search engine optimized words. And this specific idea is around burnout for working professionals, just as an example, and a short social post around each topic idea. So now what it generated is 3 weeks worth of content with 3 posts a week. So you've got a topic idea and then a very brief post. And again, this is where I wouldn't necessarily just copy and paste this post, but it gives you a great place to start. It gives you some hashtags that are popular. And then the next prompt I did is use this to create a table that I can put into a spreadsheet. So then you can create a spreadsheet, so that way you can keep your content marketing organized, and you know exactly what you're going to write about, and you don't have to worry about stressing, oh, what am I going to write about now? And you have ideas to get you started and then to infuse your creativity on top of that. All right, so then next up on stage, we've got Tarin Calmeyer, the founder of Remote Team Wellness. Hey, Tarin.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you for your insights. Thank you so much for sharing how you're utilizing this tool. And I think for my portion of this, I really just want to emphasize the fact that this is a tool. It's something that we can choose to interact with in a way that does serve us. So as humans, obviously, we are extremely adaptable. We're extremely open to change. And so I really just want to impress upon you that if this is something that you are using in any way, and I love the suggestions that have been used, I use it in the same ways as a personal assistant, as a way to time track and time block. It really helps with goal setting. It helps with accountability. It helps with all of these things. However, to really be mindful and to come back to the fact that this is just another tool in our arsenal. This is another way that we can look at and utilize how we are witnessing what we're doing, is a really important part of how we can make this an effective part of our technology, a part of our lives. So as we're using this technology, and as we see it expand, as we see it grow into whatever it's going to grow into, really staying mindful to how we are interacting with it is the key. It's the key to being able to use it in the most effective way possible. And just remembering that if you are using it to do things that aren't just setting the foundation and giving you an idea of how you want to work with it, you'll start to lose that creativity and that part of yourself that actually does make it human. So allow yourself to really just use it and see it as the tool that it is. So thank you all so much for your insight, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Please connect on LinkedIn, and I'll speak to you very soon. Stay well.
Thank you, Tarin. Next up, we've got Yasha Spong, and he makes chatbots experimenting with mental wellness, human connection, and spirituality.
Oh, hi, you guys. I didn't know I was going to be on so soon. How do I share my screen here? Oh, here it is. All right. Share my screen. So, guys, I'm really grateful for
See it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to join a community of interest. I'm so excited about this stuff. So I have and this isn't a job for me. It's just a fun hobby. And when I ran into those the early APIs, the GPT-3 APIs, I just thought it was so cool. And without getting into a long story, I'll just sort of do some stuff while I'm talking. I thought, how can we use these things to, improve human to human communication? Because so many people wanted to have like robot girlfriends and stuff. And I was like, this is not cool. Let's do something that's really human centered. So the first thing I made was this NVC communicator or translator. And it doesn't really do great NVC, but it's directionally correct. So we can say stuff like really harsh stuff like the way you drink and shout and carry on makes me terrified. I'm freaking out all the time. You can be really natural, right, with this, and then see what it says. And it's gonna take a second.
And Yasha, we can't see your screen yet, by the way. I don't know if you hit the button. No.
Oh, I can actually.
You can? I don't know why I can't see it. Okay.
Is there a plurality? So it's taking a while. Okay, so here's what it said. It says, "Dear so-and-so, I feel scared when I witness your drinking and loud behavior. It makes me feel concerned and overwhelmed. I've noticed that this is happening more often, and I'd like to talk about how we can find a solution that works for both of us. I care about our relationship and want us to be able to trust each other. I hope we can find a way to come to a peaceful resolution." So this kind of stuff, and you can put like swear words in here. You can be very, I don't want to like trigger anybody, but you can be extraordinarily blunt and natural, and it will help you out with your stuff. Oh, is that time already? Oh, too bad. I'm going to put this link in there, and I have an Alan Watts chatbot that I'd like people to just kick around. It's so beautiful. I think you're doing great stuff. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yasha. Yeah, please feel free to drop the link in the chat. And next up, looks like we got Maneesh back. So here's Maneesh. Let's see if the mic is working.
Can you hear me, Simona?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my 2 minutes is all about actually, could we have machines that care?
That's interesting. I can't hear, but if the rest of you guys can.
About 5 years ago, I gave a couple of talks on empathetic AI and what if we could have a future where machines could care, given there's a shortfall of compassion and empathy in the world. I was talking about from the perspective of healthcare in terms of patients seeking care, whether they're in sub-Saharan Africa whether they're in rural America, they can't get access to a healthcare professional. But now that ChatGPT is launched, and also you've got AutoGPT trying to come up with this concept of autonomous AI agents that work on your behalf, I'm actually thinking about the possibility of enabling older people to live independently in their own home, because you have whatever comes beyond ChatGPT that allows people who might be living with dementia to have autonomous AI agents that work on their behalf, even when they're sleeping, to navigate with the healthcare system, with the city, to arrange a carer, to get their prescription refilled, etc. And it just made me think about actually where we are today, that how soon before anybody, especially those who are handicapped or disabled, etc., they get access to these agents that can support them in their everyday life, and there can be compassion provided and empathy towards these people who might not be able to afford access to care otherwise, or they might not have care in their part of the world. That's it. Thank you very much. I'll post the link to my video, my talk, in the chat.
Thank you, Maneesh.
Thank you, Maneesh. Yeah, sorry for some reason I wasn't able to hear Manish's sharing. And then last on the list, we have Yuji Mikami.
I don't see him on here.
Okay.
But yeah, that was super awesome. We cleared through everybody, and we got through some amazing shares. And I think now we're just going to wrap it up and share some final remarks. Simona, would you like to go first?
I just want to say I'm so my heart is so warm hearing from all of you, and you know how you find a way to bring the consciousness, the human connection to anything that you do, and for sharing the tips, and for all your creativity in figuring out ways to use it, and for being here, for sharing this. And I think this is definitely an ongoing conversation, because as we all know, this stuff is still very new. And I think this presents a great opportunity for those of us who are here to be the leaders of what it means to use any tools mindfully, to be the ones who show the world that just because there are some people who might not be using it for good purposes, there are more and more people who are using it for great purposes. And so it's up to us to use it for good and to learn from one another, because none of us are experts at this, and we're all learning as we go. And that's the exciting part, is just to stay curious. So it is another opportunity for mindfulness practices, just to always have that beginner's mind, and to see how things resonate with us, and then to continually reflect back on things, and to not just rush into things impulsively, but to pause, to have that mindful pause, and to learn from one another. Yeah, I'm grateful for all of you for being here.
Thank you, Simona. That's it from me. Simona and I are thinking about doing more of these events, and so let us know if that's something that you'd be interested in. Thank you all very much for sitting through here. There's our first iteration, so we're working through some of the kinks, and we'll definitely have better operational processes going forward. And yeah, you know, we're at 2 minutes left here. That's pretty much it. I want to just thank you all again for showing up and sharing everything that you did, and looking forward to connecting further with everybody.
And please connect with one another too on LinkedIn. If you see people's names in the chat, all the LinkedIn links, just talk to one another, and yeah, let's all grow the community.
Okay, so that's the official ending now.
Okay.
We've got a question about the replay, so we'll send out a link to the recording to everyone that's here, to everyone that's registered. Question about, can you send a list of attendance?
Sorry, is there any chance that it's kind of impossible to capture who's attended in Flow? Is there an opportunity to?
We can send a list of the attendees, assuming everyone here is okay with that. If there's someone who's not, just let us know.
I was going to suggest maybe you create like a shared Google sheet of attendees with their LinkedIn or whatever info they want to share, name of the company, whatever. Sometimes that's very helpful during these webinars. I found that you just make that available and people can put in their own information, or if you have it, that's great too. But that way people can connect later.
We put everybody's LinkedIn links on the registration page. So if you open an incognito window, you can see everybody's links. We'll see about sharing everybody's emails. I think in general, that's something that's
LinkedIn's fine.
not.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
more like
LinkedIn,
company name and LinkedIn, or either one of those, or something simple to just follow up. Thank you all.
Good.
Good job.
Mark, if I could just jump in as well.
Sure. Right
I
now, it's just an open
understand that-
forum. The event has ended. Sorry, real quick, Ford. The event is officially ended, but I think we're just going to keep it open for a few. And if anybody wants to join up on stage to chat, we can do that as well.
Yeah,
Sorry,
just
go
real
ahead, Ford.
quick. I appreciate that you guys put this together, and I understand that ChatGPT, that search term is basically like clickbait, right? So it was smart of you all to throw that out there for this first one. But I want to encourage you and Simona to continue this platform, because I think you have some brilliant people in this space that may be connected by way of a 7th or 8th degree of separation. But I think the moral of the story is we're all connected. And in this space, I think we need to tighten those webs a little bit tauter in order to continue to push the innovation side, aside from what AI is telling us or what we're telling AI. Mindfulness is a human-centric, human-centered practice, construct, and program. And I think if we lose sight of that, like I mentioned earlier, we can pretty much forget about even pushing any type of platform. So I just want you all to continue to push this. I know it's a hell of a lot of work, but I tip my hat to you guys, and I appreciate you. And I got much love from my side of Auburn, Alabama. War Eagle.
Thanks, Ford. Yeah, so this is we're just testing out this platform, and it was interesting being in the background, having to add everybody to the stage. And so I was just kind of like frantically working in the back, sending people's LinkedIn's. Definitely going to prepare more next time.
You did amazing, Mark.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and share anything? There's 26 folks here. We can probably stay in here for a few more minutes. Thanks, Cynthia, for your note. I'll share a little bit more, since I shared a little bit about how I'm using ChatGPT along with Zapier. I know that there are comments about how using that at scale is questionable, right? And so when I created my prompt, I was very cautious about how it can come across. And so I've actually turned on basically the OpenAI to publicly post for us, but I'm checking it out every day, what it's posting, to make sure that it's in alignment. And I know that there are other folks that have just let loose ChatGPT in their marketing and sales, and it can turn out badly. But I do think that there's power in that. And I especially am thinking that folks in the mindfulness space should use that type of automation. There are so many other types of folks that have much worse intentions sharing their automations and content out there. So part of the reason why I wanted to bring this group together is so that we're more equipped as a mindfulness community in sharing our voice and our positive technologies. So just sharing a little bit more about that. So if nobody else would like to, oh, I see a hand raised over here.
Hi. Yeah, thank you for this event. Like, such a cool space. And I see it as this wellspring of all these ideas that came forward, but also really important questions for us to all think about, because it's so vast. And while I have a lot of concerns, I now see a lot of opportunity to use this to create empathetic connection with people and to manage energy more efficiently as an entrepreneur and use it in ways that feel aligned. So I just feel hopeful about it. I do have some questions I want to bring into the space that will not have answers today necessarily, but I think are important. And, you know, one of them is about being trauma informed and the ethics of using AI to connect with people on the internet. I know that we see this a lot already, where it's like when you go into a chat feature, you most likely are talking to AI for some, if not all of it. But there's this question of like, is this person human or is this person AI that I'm speaking to? And equally so with our content too, like sharing things like, did we write it? Did it come from us? You know, and what's the impact of that? But especially the impact with building trust and connection with people, especially as coaches and client-centered service providers who are literally connecting with people to then support them on a healing or transformation journey. These stages that lead into a client relationship are just as important and vital as the client relationship itself. And yet I see a lot of people leaning so heavily on AI to automate these simulated human connections to then get people in the room to sell to them. So I just want to bring in that question of like, what are the ethics around pretending to be in a conversation with people leading up to a client relationship, and how that can actually injure people, especially with attachment injury or trauma, even further, and make it harder to actually connect or seek support out there, because there's always going to be this question of like, am I talking to a human or a robot right now? And I speak firsthand as someone who's concerned about that. It doesn't feel good when I feel like I'm talking to AI. And yeah, so I don't know. And I've heard some people bring up this inquiry too, around like, should, you know, from an ethical standpoint, do we need to tell people when we've used AI for our content or in conversation, or just kind of blend it into the business model? Like when you send an email and it's generated by AI, do we have a responsibility to let people know that we've used AI to support us in our businesses? So that's just a question I'm putting out there. Thanks.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, certainly a lot of things that could be written about. Perhaps a blog post maybe coming from you soon on the topic. Brett, would you like to do a final share? I think we'll close the room after this one.
Sure. Jess, that's spot on concerns, I think, in terms of the representation of an interaction as being human or an AI. I think that's a really big deal. And one of the things that is top of mind on my list around AI that we didn't talk about too much is about the mindful use of AI. I mean, we did kind of get there to some degree, but I have a concern, because I'm concerned that people are impacted by this technology in ways that we do not understand. When it talks to us as if it were a human, and it's not, will not be very long until it's indiscernible from a human. You won't be able to tell that it's not an AI, and that opens up a whole lot of new issues. And so I like to put out a caveat to people about being sure to be present with the impact of interacting with this technology. I read an article the other day about how someone said just doing the research that they were doing was influencing their opinions on some political point. And I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. And just to sum up real quickly, it's like one of the things about this is that it will present points of view as if they were fact, and getting it to support those facts is another task altogether. And I found it's really not very good at that. And that's where the human filter comes in, because I actually had it say, give me some references for this mindfulness practices it was saying, like, can you show me the science for that? And it came back very authoritatively saying, well, here's all the science for it. And you actually go look at those studies, and none of them, not one of them, actually supported the conclusion. And so it was like very interesting, although it sounds so solid, you know, and it looks so solid. Be aware of the impact. Oh, I want it to be true. And that's the concern. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett, for that final share. Simona, I think it's a good time to close it out now. So thank you all for everybody here. I'm going to click leave session, and we'll see what happens from there. Thank you all again.
Thank you, everyone.